Welcome back to Money Talks. I'm Matthew Moore in Istanbul. Now, for months, France has been hit by waves of protests and demonstrations against changes to its labour laws. But this month, the National Assembly will vote to pass the new legislation. Added to this, there's economic uncertainty across the English Channel after the UK voted for Brexit. Now, Nicole Johnston looks at some of the challenges facing France.
Once again, streets in central Paris are shut down and filled with barricades and heavy security. But not because of terrorism. These are mass demonstrations by French workers, bringing parts of Paris and other French cities to a standstill. These people are upset about a new labour law.
The government says it needs to change the labour law to make French businesses more competitive. But the unions say it could weaken collective bargaining. And for workers, it means it could be easier to get fired and they could end up having to work much longer hours.
Paris's business district of La Défense is one place where people aren't struggling. It's also a part of the economy that may benefit from the UK deciding to leave the European Union. If the UK leaves, financial companies in London will probably lose their so-called passporting rights, which allow them to operate across borders. And Paris could become a new base for them in the EU, bringing jobs and investment to the French capital. But even if the finance sector stands to gain, other industries are more vulnerable to the impact of Brexit, including the producers and growers here in the Champagne region near Paris. The UK is France's #1 market for champagne. It drinks 11% of the global supply. Champagne producers will now be facing new trading rules, like import tariffs, as well as a lacklustre British economy.
The champagne growth follows the economic growth of countries, and it's more a matter of consumer mindset than economical or purchasing power. Basically, when a crisis starts, the first thing you cut is the champagne consumption. However, when the crisis is over, first thing you do is you celebrate, and you celebrate with champagne.
It's also been a shock here in the French port city of Calais. Britain's border is actually on the French side of the Channel and has been since 2003. But this has created a bottleneck of 4,500 migrants and refugees on the outskirts of town, in a place that's become known as the jungle. The situation has driven away tourists and investors, and business is down by around 35%.
The investors, they say, no, we don't go to Calais because of the migrant problem. So surely and definitely, if the border was in England, I think would be much better for us.
It's too early to see what impact Brexit will have on France. And before that, the government has to sort out its labour policies and calm down the protesters. And by the sounds of it, that's not going to be easy. Nicole Johnston, TRT World.
Well, for more on this, our editor-at-large, Craig Copetas, joins us from the French capital, Paris. Craig, the report there from Nicole Johnston looking like France is a little economically turgid right now.
Well, it's been that way since 1970, and the reason we know that, back in 1970, a group of enterprising individuals here started a company called Enterprise and Progress. Now, the object of this exercise was to offer training sessions on how business actually works to the 577 members of the French National Assembly. Since then, the largest number of those deputies who showed up was around 9%. There is a problem in France, and it's not just me saying it. It has nothing to do with French bashing, an always popular sport. Even the OECD says that France is failing in every major category: economic regulation, productivity, policy making, and the state control of the details of running a business. Hollande and his government and the unions are constantly sniping at businesses. And that's a reality here.
OK, well, the French are making some effort to roll out the red carpet for these big financial institutions that may be looking across the Channel to France from Britain. Which Anglo-centric investment bank wants to move to France?
I don't believe any of them do. They'd be moving to a country where public expenditure accounts for more than 50%, 57% of gross domestic product. Why would they come here? A few years ago, the consulting firm Bain & Company surveyed some 1,500 top executives in the U.S., 80% of whom said they didn't like France as a place to invest. And 65% of those executives said the reason was a socialist government that has remained in some kind of bizarre thrall with Marxist economic policies. Now I don't throw that word Marxism around lightly, because the EU is a confederation of predominantly socialist governments. So I don't see any investment banks coming here. It would cost them way too much money.
All right, Craig, well, we'll see in the coming months. Thanks very much for your analysis out of Paris.